We are so grateful to be supported by sponsors like our friends at eSudo. You know, running any business, but especially a law firm, means balancing a lot. And technology, frankly, shouldn't be a headache. eSudo makes information technology and cybersecurity simple for law firms large or small. With over 20 years of experience, they specialize in everything from Microsoft 365 management to advanced cybersecurity solutions. They help you to stay ahead of threats, manage your data securely, and keep your tech running smoothly so that you can focus on what matters most, your clients. eSudo understands the legal industry's unique needs, offering tailored solutions to ensure that your firm is always in compliance and always protected. Are you ready to upgrade your firm's technology or get help with your questions? Visit esudo.com.
We are so grateful to be supported by these community champions: Sales MD, Team Friday, Realist Lab, Kiana Patterson, Diego Chavez, Jer Boucher, Heather Ryder, Janine Sua, Lily Roca, and Steve Kernan.
Hey, it's me. And yes, it's time for some holiday weekend stoppage time here in the United States. It's Friday, November 28th. And today we're talking about two big things. One, return to the office or don't return to the office. I don't know, but I'm going to share some thoughts on that. And then I'll share, as I try and do every year, just a little short synopsis of some of my things that I am most grateful and thankful for this year. I'll drop that at the end of this episode. So first and foremost, it's Thanksgiving here in the United States this Thursday. It's our holiday here, although it's funny, lots of my Mexican friends in Mexico who have a lot of ties to the U.S. celebrate this as well, but it is a U.S.-centric, unique holiday. So we'll have a little bit of time off, kind of not necessarily the typical traditional holiday weekend, but I'll be taking advantage and enjoying some time with family and friends this weekend, just the same, with the help of a couple who are going to help me get around with my knee so that I don't injure it further, but I can also get the hell out of my apartment for the first time in like a month. So, yes, even though it is a Thanksgiving holiday, our small but mighty team here, led by the incomparable Deanna Burnell, still dropped a great new episode of Entrepreneurial Thinkers yesterday, as always, as we try and do for you religiously and consistently. Over the course of the weekend, although, as I say, it won't be my normal long holiday weekend, where I would have hopped on a train and taken a trip down to the south of the state here to spend some time with family and friends. I am going to be heading down to Orange County later today and enjoying a day or so with the family by choice and all of our friends on Saturday, and I'm really, really grateful for that. But in today's episode here, what I wanted to share, and I will share later with you about my own kind of gratitude and thanks list, I want to hit on one big theme. I want to kind of continue this little experiment that we did last week in Stoppage Time, where I hit on one big theme that seems to come up in a lot of conversations with the friends who I know who work for big companies across the world, as well as with my entrepreneur and investor friends who are building businesses, building companies, building teams, and explore it today through the lens of the conversation that I was privileged enough to have with this week's guest on Entrepreneurial Thinkers, who's a young man named Stephen Hargett, who's the founder and CEO of a company called Wrkspace, but it's spelled Wrkspace. And this is this whole topic about return to office or not, right? And it seems to be a pretty persistent conversation in 2025 as we generally move kind of further and further away from the pandemic shocks on our economy and our work culture. But if we're really honest and we're not just thinking about return to office or office work culture from the point of view of, say, the corporate executives who own millions of square feet of corporate real estate and headquarter offices, or the point of view of, say, the commercial industry guys who have a vested interest in seeing companies and people return back to the offices because it'll increase the value of their buildings, or honestly, just from a certain class of like old, rich, white guy executives, the guys my age or maybe a bit older than me who are kind of stuck in the old ways, the old work management culture paradigm that the U.S. has operated in essentially largely since post-1945, 1950, post-World War II America. So if we can get outside that bubble of thinking, then we can admit to ourselves that, frankly, about 19% of our global workforce worked remotely, not in an office, before the pandemic in 2019. and that trend line of kind of a geographically distributed workforce had been steadily increasing year over year for most of the last 20 years. So the real discussion around office or not office, remote or hybrid or some combinations of all those, isn't so much about just that, just like, are we back in the office or are we not? It's more about how do we define kind of the workplace, and how is that definition of our workplace evolving? How does company leadership evolve in how it thinks about its employees and their use of space? Plus, and maybe honestly, as Stephen tries to get us to understand, maybe as importantly in the long term, how do we as employees or workers or freelancers think about where we work, what we want or need, and how those spaces and office cultures of the companies that we may consider going to work for now become a significant factor in our career choices. Stephen shared so much wisdom and insight into these questions in our conversation, while also he validated some things that I've deeply believed to be true as a worker who, by the way, was working remotely 3,000 miles plus away from my corporate offices 30 years ago in the 1990s. So it's always been a fascinating and important conversation for me to have, to explore. And that was one of the reasons I was so eager to get Stephen on the show, because like, to me, I've been thinking about remote work before it was called remote work. I've been thinking about that being a field employee, kind of out in the field away from my offices at corporate for most of my career. And yet I've also built companies where we've had in-office culture. I was earlier in my career part of companies and had in-office culture and in-office responsibilities. So I've experienced all sides of it, but I've been kind of so far out in front of the idea that the best talent is truly available out there wherever you can find it, not confined by the geography of where your office happens to be, that I was really curious to dig into it further. And so one great point that he asked us to consider is kind of where we work and how those spaces are evolving. So let's hear from him now.
And I think that now that we're in this space today, I think the flexible space, co-working space, shared office has so many names. I think that that industry is trying to find its identity and amongst all of the different options that exist. And there's so many. It's like you have platforms that are only a marketplace. Then you have platforms that are a membership that then give you access to this very, very small group. And I think that where we're going to move forward and what I think hopefully users are going to want to start to demand, and I think hopefully Workspace is at the crux of all of that, is this level of taking your experience and who you are and matching you with the right space, regardless of what that space category is. I think that's where it's going to move to, where it's going to be a lot more personalization and a lot more the user making sure that they're in the right environment and in the right space to do the tasks that they're set out to do.
And taking right off of that, right? So what we're learning in this episode from someone like Stephen, who has spent the last decade of his career curiously obsessed about why we work the way that we do and why we use space the way that we do, is that this entire range of places that we can work and places that our companies can provide for us is shifting. Like, so now in 2025, at least, we all know what co-working means, right? But that wasn't the case 10, 15 years ago, right? So now that we're at least familiar with all the terms and the options in front of us, Stephen is challenging us to believe that we also can begin to demand different or better from the places and the organizations that we work that wind up being in service of us as the whole person, not just us as like the worker bee, as I always love to say, right? And so here in this next teaser clip, he also pushes us to consider how we can make work more like play. And he brings these insights into the rest of the show from what he's been hearing from the hundreds of conversations he has on a month-to-month basis with the designers, the architects, the company executives that he is working together as he builds his company, Wrkspace, which he calls the intelligent operating system of work. So let's listen to him a little bit further.
Work is going to be more of a play space. And what I mean by that is that when we were kids, we went to school and we learned things, right? However, as a child, you went to school to hang out and play with your friends. The byproduct was learning.
Yep.
Somehow, some way, when we're like 20-ish, that idea of, because you're working throughout your educational career, you're working.
Yep.
And at some point you graduate and you kind of, you switch to like this idea of work being this thing. and then play goes away. So now you go to the office to work, and then play just does some stuff. What I'm seeing, what I'm imagining, and the people that I've talked to, particularly architects and workspace designers, they're thinking about work moving towards how do we build spaces and places that excite this level of play, which means pulling apart, being curious, diving in, like doing the things that we did as kids, but as adults and we're getting paid to do.
And honestly, as inspired as I have been by Stephen, I'm going to do what I do every week here, which is just to really encourage you to go and enjoy this conversation with he and I. Just go find and enjoy this episode of Entrepreneurial Thinkers wherever you enjoy your audio or video on our YouTube channel, podcasts. And I'll always remind you, but I'll do it again more specifically here. Like if you do ever go listen to or watch an episode of our show and you're there on those pages, like you could just hit follow or subscribe depending on the platform, and you will eventually automatically become part of our community, and you'll get notified each week when new episodes drop into your feed. So that's a great little tip. Like a lot of folks listen to the episode, but they don't hit follow or they don't hit subscribe, and then they miss out on future episodes or conversations that could be brought to their attention that might be super pertinent to the work you're doing or the path you're contemplating or the decisions you're trying to make. So that's it about this episode. As for me and this Thanksgiving weekend, I'll say this. Although 2025 has been a really challenging year on just about every front, I've still got so much to be grateful and thankful for. You know, as I think about it, I was telling a friend the other day, man, like 2025 just seemed like in certain stages, it was just like adversity piled upon adversity, like all year long. I said to this friend, like, it felt like we gave away 2 to 3 months at the start of the year here in Los Angeles to the devastating historic wildfires that started back in January that you heard me talk about here so often. And there were so many more people, much more devastatingly affected. Lives changed forever, neighborhoods completely decimated and changed forever. And it just seemed like it took us almost into the early part of the spring to even begin to catch our breath and recover from that. And then as we were beginning to catch our breath from that, we burned 2 or 3 months of the summer, middle of the year, to the chilling effects of our federal government's malicious and racist deportation immigration raids here in LA that began on June 5th, when we became the first city in the country's history to be subjected to an all-out assault by the agencies of its federal government. And then for me, just as we seemed to catch our breath from that shock in early autumn, I walked to the grocery store one day to pick up my groceries and I blew out my knee. And here I've sat at home for just about the last 4 weeks, about 27, 28 days, with limited mobility and lots of medical tests and frankly, more questions and answers to come in the next few months as I progress, hopefully towards some sort of repaired and rehabilitated, strengthened left knee so that someday in 2026, I can get back to my self-sufficient, independent life of walking everywhere and hiking with my friends on the weekends. But even amidst all of this, I honestly still have so much to be grateful for. In fact, including the service of the Los Angeles Fire Department, who just passed by us out the window. But I'm so grateful for so many things. And so let me share some of them with you. My family. I became a grandpa late last year. And the pleasure of watching little baby Leo grow up this year to become the bigger baby Leo that he is now, and to see his personality develop and to see how he is literally figuring out the world and life as a human being in real time has been so amazing. And it's created so many memories between just he and I, and for me and his family, my daughter and her partner. But it's just been such an incredible gift. And I'm so thankful for that. Watching my daughter grow into her power and her love and her joy as a woman and as a mom, and to see our relationship, which is going from strength to strength, I think, in so many new ways. That's such a gift. To so proudly watch her partner, Henry, grow and become the loving, kind, joyous, earnest dad and partner that he is and that I always knew he would be, all while working full-time to support his family and studying full-time for his master's degree as well at UC Berkeley. Like, it's been so impressive to watch and so fun to watch unfold. And I'm constantly grateful for my relationship with Henry as it continues to evolve. For my family by choice, Jamie, Jeff, the girls, Gabby, Maddie, Amanda, and her kids, Chloe and Dylan, and my friend Marla, the matriarch of it all, to have them in my corner, to also be able to love them, to be kind of this proxy-ish big brother to some and Uncle Rob to others. It has enriched my life and fulfilled my life this year and every year for the last 28 years or so. in ways that I never, ever could have imagined when I moved to Southern California, to staying at least a little connected with my blood family that is spread all over the globe and this country, to my two big sisters, their kids, and now their kids' kids, to stay connected digitally via these tools and email and phone calls and text messages and all that is a gift in and of itself. And to get to wake up and do the work that I love and believe honestly now that I was made to do. This podcast, these podcasts, the podcasts that we are creating, the stories that we are telling for not only ourselves, but now for client partners, to be able to do that. It's such a gift. I'm so thankful for it, but I'm also inside of that thankful for the amazing, talented, smart, kind, and loyal teammate and creative partner that Deanna Bernal from Mexico City is. For without her, there is no Podcaster Raw. I wouldn't or couldn't be able to create what we've created together on my own. I never could have done this. She's become essentially like an extra daughter or maybe a niece to me. She feels like family, but our professional relationship continues to evolve and grow strong, even through some of the rough times of building a business from scratch. And I've got so much gratitude and love and respect for her. It's almost difficult to just synopsize it down into these couple of sentences, right? But we've also got our teammate, Ana Paula, who herself now is getting married in these next few weeks, happily home in Mexico, while also building a life and a career for herself in Europe. And although I've not always lived up to our potential together and utilized her as fully as I could yet, her encouragement and her belief in me and her loyalty to what we're trying to accomplish has gotten me through some really, really dark moments as an entrepreneur this year, and I'm forever grateful for that. And yes, to each and every one of our guests and our sponsors and our listeners and viewers who support our work. Literally, we would not be able to do the work that we do. I would not be doing this for a living and trying to build something bigger out of this if it wasn't enabled by our sponsors and literally created by the conversations that I get to have with our guests. And now to have the opportunity to expand upon that together with Deanna's help creatively, and to be able to build podcasts and stories to tell the stories of other brands and other companies and organizations so they can grow and extend and use this medium to connect with their audiences and their communities. I'm blown away by this opportunity that I get to do this every day. We call the guests of our shows alumni of our show community for a reason, because you are. You're all literally so much more than just transactional one-time guests. Many, if not all of you, have become great friends. And I embrace each of you and your stories and your journeys as if we've been friends for a lifetime. You've made me wiser, more curious, more informed, and overall, frankly, just a better person. And as we've talked together, we always kind of continually try to explore how we together might leave the world a little bit better than we found it. And finally, and I know it'll sound funny as I sit here with my knee wrapped up in a bandage and my crutches in the other room, pending medical diagnoses and care and many more expenses to come. But honestly, even though I wish that this injury had never happened to me at the end of October, I'm still super grateful for my overall health. Overall, knee aside, presently, I'm in pretty good health for a 57-year-old guy. Even the knee injury recently forced a whole battery of new tests on me that, in the doctor's words, all proved again, you're doing great for your age. Once you get this knee fixed, I hope you keep doing all your daily walking and your hiking, because it's working. And I took great solace in that. In a moment of great stress and a lot of fear, I took solace in the fact that I'm doing something right with my health. Can I get better? Yes. As my mom always used to say, and I now say all the time on this podcast and others, life could always be a little bit better, but my, oh my, it could be much, much worse. Could I lose some more weight? Of course, yes. And I will in 2026. Could I make some more money? Yes, of course. And I will in 2026. But I absolutely love where I live. I love my apartment. I love my neighborhood. I love the great city of Los Angeles. I love my forward-thinking state of California. And yes, even though we're in a dark period in our history, I love the possibility of my country here in the United States. And I won't ever stop working at its pursuit of our more perfect union. I love the people that I'm surrounded by and inspired by as friends and peers. And every week, our podcast conversations remind me that there are far more good people in the world than bad. And for that, I am forever, forever grateful. So whether you celebrate it or not, I'm sharing my Thanksgiving wishes and my gratitude with you and your family this weekend. And I send you joy, love, hugs, and peace, as always. But maybe this weekend, I also just send you a little small reminder to find the gratitude in your own life, no matter how tough the moments or transitions may be. I can't wait to see you right back here next Friday for some more Stoppage Time, and next Thursday for another incredible conversation of ours on Entrepreneurial Thinkers. And in the meantime, I simply finish out by saying this to you. Peace. We are so grateful to be supported by sponsors like our friends at Plain Text Capital. You know, investing in Web3 and cryptocurrencies isn't about jumping on the latest trends. It's about understanding where the market is headed and why. Plain Text Capital is a digital asset investment firm focused on long-term strategies backed by deep research, backing the best Web3 companies and protocols, and investing in the newest asset classes of the future. They believe that Web3 crypto will drive digital innovation for decades to come, creating significant value for investors. In fact, their team of highly skilled professionals work with institutions and serious individual investors who want clarity in a space full of hype and noise. So if you're looking to cut through the chaos and invest with purpose, Plain Text Capital brings a disciplined, high-conviction approach to investing. You can learn more and meet the team at plaintextcapital.com.